welcome to the Relationship Comeback Podcast. This is your host, Carter Anderson, and we want to give you a little bit of some context, some expectations, maybe some background on the purpose of this podcast and why this is a personal venture that I'm taking at this point in my life. I want to give you a little bit of a backstory here on how long this project has been in the works, at least out in the universe, how long this has been in the works. We'll go back to 2019 in November. I just returned home from serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And like every other returned missionary, you have the goal to get married ASAP. I remember I came home in November and I was talking with some of my companions before I came home. I was like, I think I could probably, like, realistically, I could probably get married by December of 2019, like a month and a half. Like that was in my mind. I wanted to get married very quickly coming home. After about 18 months of different dating experiences, it was a pretty tough realization to realize this might be something that's out of my control. I can work as hard as I want. I can pray as hard as I want. I can even just want it more than anybody else. And I was starting to realize I might have very little control over this specific outcome or this specific goal because it involved somebody else's agency. Up to that point in my life, basketball was completely on me. If I succeeded or failed, it was because I was working hard or wasn't working hard. Missionary work to a certain extent was on me. If we were able to see success, if I was able to find personal growth, it was because, I was working hard. I was trying to be obedient. School, same thing. If I was successful or I failed, it was on me. Work, all of those things. And all of a sudden you come home and all of your life, the foundation that you've built, all of a sudden you're kind of coming to a realization that there's a new challenge on the horizon and it can become very difficult. And for me, that kind of realization was crushing to be like, man, like, and I'm not by any means perfect or the most hard worker in the entire world. I work hard and I'm diligent and dedicated to the things that are important to me. But specifically in this aspect of my life, it's something that's very important to me and I try and take very seriously. So to realize that, I could work as hard as I want, I could want it, pray for it, whatever, and it still might not work out was soul crushing. And it's kind of like at that point, you realize that this is completely up to God, the universe, fate, and that there's not maybe a whole lot that I can do to figure this out. I remember driving home from, being up north on another failed situationship and kind of realizing this. And I kind of realized that this state that I was realizing about this goal of me wanting to get married and maybe not having as much control over it as I could. I realized the amount of emotional resiliency it was going to take to figure this out or to get through this or endure this was something that I didn't have at that point in time. I had struggled with anxiety throughout my life and had been given the tools to be able to serve a mission, be able to deal with the stresses and struggles that come with that. But I mean, this was a whole new level because now not only are you involving, as a missionary, it's, church specific things or gospel specific things or missionary work or even just learning how to live on your own. Now this whole pursuit of marriage or becoming someone that can be the best father husband that you can be. All of it is cultivated. School, work, family, physical health, mental health, like all of this is kind of combined into one pursuit of I want to become the best father, husband, whatever it might be. And so understanding that pursuit requires a lot of emotional resilience. It kind of allowed me or gave me the opportunity to be like, all right, I need to take a step back and I need to see what I can do to get myself in the best position, especially just to be able to continue to get through because the emotional toll that it's going to take is not an easy one. Um, with that, probably so that was, probably end of 2021. Probably about 3 or 4 months later, I remember sitting watching General Conference. I have no idea what is being played or who's talking, but the very distinct prompting comes into my mind that and I wrote it down specifically what I said is I need to start a how to date or how to deal with being single podcast. This is March 30th, 2022. I have proceeded to put that prompting off basically every single day for the past 3 years. It's March 17th, 2025. This is I don't want to do this. I really don't. I want to be the guy that just came home and got married. I don't want to have to be the sounding board for this. But since coming home, being a missionary, revelation from God ebbs and flows. It's not as consistent as I would have hoped it would have been coming home, but this is one thing I know that he's told me to do. And it's something that I know I need to do, even if it's just for me, even if it's just to help me out, to build my emotional resilience, even if it's just to build my community, to be able to help support me as I continue to figure out how I can become my best self. And so this is something that's been in the works for a really long time, especially just even in the my mind's eye of something that I want to do, something that I know I need to do, and something that although I don't want to do it, I'm excited for it. I see the benefits in it. And so basically out of answers, uh, I'm back to this original idea to try and build a podcast, to build a platform, to build a community, to be able to help young single adults or even just single people in the church, single people in the world, single people all over the place, their friends, their family members, to create a more healthy environment surrounding this extremely difficult situation for so many people. And so, with that said, I think some of the main purposes of this is like I've worked really hard to try and become my best self, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, um, all sorts of things. And I've realized that on my own, I'm not going to be able to become the person that I need to be on my own. To especially the type of future partner that I'm trying to find in my life. There's just things that I can't figure out on my own that I'm gonna need help. So it's an act of humility that I'm trying to figure out. All right, I'm clearly out of answers on my own. Working out enough or trying to make more money or be more charismatic or wear cool, whatever it might be. Like these solutions that I'm coming up on my own are clearly not helping me become the best person that I need to. And so I need to, number one, create a community, but to also bring people on to the podcast to be able to help me better understand, what I can do. And then if anybody else can learn from that, great. That would be so awesome. I would be so happy to be able to help somebody else's journey of singlehood a little bit easier, or a relative or a friend to be able to have a little bit more empathy towards maybe some of the struggles. So that's one of the purposes of that. Um, but again, the main underlying thing, and I already can think of people be like, why is he doing a podcast on dating or being single? It's very pick. I'm just honestly, I don't even care anymore. I'm at the point that I'm out of answers, and this is like my last ditch effort to try and figure out what I can do to find more purpose and meaning in my life, to become the best person that I can be. And if I can help other people out doing that, great. But this is something that I know I need to do for myself. Um, Kind of maybe some of the whys of me doing this outside of those. Um, this pursuit of marriage or dating, being single has negatively impacted basically every part of my life. My physical health, there's been times where you're just unmotivated to work out. Your mental health, it's a constant ebb and flow of emotions, of disappointments, of failures, of hope. It's all over the place. And it's something when you're date like as a missionary, if they reject the Book of Mormon or the gospel, you're like, it's whatever. It's not, they're not rejecting me. or as a salesman or a teacher, whatever it might be, you present something to an audience. And if they don't like it, you're like, okay, well, that's my product or that's my message or whatever it might be. When you're dating, and again, this maybe it's not the healthiest thought process, but they are rejecting you when they ghost you or when you don't get a second date or when they break up with you or whatever it might be. And as much as you try and detach yourself from it, it's something you can't, because in order to be an effective dater, you have to be in tune with your emotions. You have to try and be present. And so all of a sudden you're just in this constant flow of, all right, I'm doing my best to stay in touch with my emotions. I'm excited or I'm hopeful about this. And then that doesn't work out. And over 2019, however many freaking dates I've been on, that takes a toll on your mental health, because at least for me, that constant rejection of, because again, if I don't continue to go on a date with someone, it's because I don't see that we are compatible. I don't see that going there with that person. And so it's very similar to you. You're like, all right, well, clearly that's the same for them. And that's very hard. It's had an effect on my relationships with friends and family, in the sense of they're sick of hearing about it. They like, praise to my parents, man, but you know they're just sick of hearing about the ghosting, the situationships, whatever it might be. And while there are a lot of friendships that are very supportive and helpful for it, there's only so much that they can do to help, in the sense of listening or trying to set you up or whatever it might be. And it can take a toll, especially when there's maybe different views in dating or how you're doing things. And so that's one thing that's been hard. But for me, one of the hardest things, I'll learn real quick. This topic will make me tear up real quick. Dating. This is gonna sound so soft. I has been the biggest trial of my faith in my relationship to God, with God. You come home, you're so fired up. You're like, God is gonna help me out. I see him do it every day. You come home, you're like, I'm gonna continue to do that. I'm gonna continue to be here for you every single day. I'm gonna give you my all. And I'm talking, this is my dialogue with God. And you kind of expect that to be reciprocated. Again, maybe those are false expectations, but my experience on my mission was God answers prayers all the time. Guys see miracles literally every day. And you come home and date after date, ghost after ghost, situationship after situationship, and you're praying and pleading. Oh man, we just make this happen. I'm giving you my all. And when it doesn't, that's, I mean, that's a tough place to be in this. And I'm not just, this isn't just dating at this point. This is, and anybody goes through this, whether it's the loss of a loved one, whether it's another specific trial that you want to have resolved, a wayward child or whatever it might be. This is just mine. And it sounds stupid because it's just like, it's just getting married, but especially in the Latter day Saint faith, this is our next covenant. This is an eternal marriage. This is a family, something that you want so that you can help God out. And it's a big deal. And I've seen it negatively impact that relationship. That's something I don't like. It's something I don't want, but it's ultimately been an effect, uh, in a negative effect in that area of my life. And I moving into another purpose or why is I can't sit with the fact that the answer is to give up, or I can't come to the conclusion or see my friends or family going through the same trial. Because guess what? 50% of the church, which I would imagine is a pretty good representation of the rest of the world, is single. The answer can't just be give up. The answer can't just be tough it out. Like there has to be a way to be able to find a healthier solution where this isn't just negatively impacting every part of my life. And so that's one of the pursuits of this is there has to be a better answer. The answer is probably going to be the pursuit of that answer. It's going to be that journey, the people I meet, the community built, the people helped. But it's not just going to be it like in my mind. Like I really we've tried everything, and this is I'm just like it can't be to stop. It can't be to just give up. And so this is that last ditch effort to say I gotta find something to make this work, even if it's just to continue to help me move along and deal with this journey of being single. Um, Furthermore, I think this plays a role into this. If I was um, born in the 80s or 90s, we're probably not having this conversation because of the current state of the dating world where we have ghosting, social media, apps, situationships like talking to my parents, they're just like they're like I don't even know what the heck is going on. Like it is absolutely a mess. And again, I'm not saying I'm never part of the problem. I really try not to be because I know the pain that it causes. But this like it's absolute chaos right now. And so I think that some of those struggles, it kind of feels like, man, like this is a broader cultural issue here. And I'm like, it sometimes it feels like, man, there's nothing I can do to change the culture of dating. Like, especially when you're just like one person. You're like, man, I don't know if I can change a culture, how we use dating apps or how we communicate or how first dates go, whatever it might be. Because I'm just one person. I can lead by example, but there's nothing I can do to change the broader culture because I don't have any type of influence or uh, platform to be able to do that. And again, going back to that prior thing, I can't just sit back and be like, well, I guess I can't change it. Nothing I can do about it. Like one thing I've realized is like nobody is gonna come and just save you. I think as again, like part of the reason you want to get married is you can find that person, have a family, you always have that person there for you, number one. Like that's great. That's awesome. And you kind of in your mind are like, well, they'll, save me from boredom or they'll help my emotional or mental health having that person there for you. But you have to realize like nobody is going to come and just do everything for you. Nobody's going to come into your life and save you. All these type of things. Like there has to be some personal accountability for it. If you're just sitting around hoping all of the time that something's going to happen, nothing's ever going to happen. And so again, to me, this is what I'm doing to try not just sit back and hope that something happens, that the dating culture changes or whatever it might be. It's like I have to go out and be the change in the world that I want to see. And if it catches on, if it's something that's needed, then that's great. But again, if not, I can say that I'm trying to be the difference that I want to see in the world. Kind of the last, I don't know if point is the right thing about why I'm doing this, but I've noticed for me, these type of conversations, similar podcasts, um, conversations with friends, family, parents, like to be able to vocalize or express or sympathize with people in similar situations, not even just in dating, just going through difficult things, going through trials. It's very healing. Um, And I want to not only do I need that in my life, I've found a lot of value in listening and talking with other people in similar situations. And I just want to create more of those conversations. The more vulnerable, the more real we can be, we can eliminate a lot of, sorry. Man, we're going to be able to clip so many memes with this, but we can eliminate a lot of unnecessary hurt by being more real in dating, in marriage, in families, with our relationship with God. The way the world works, we can be more real, and we're not going to have unrealistic expectations that can never be achieved. And to me, I want to be a part of that world. I want to be a part of that change because I've seen the hurt. Man, maybe we're not going to release this. We're crying too much. I'm just alone in one of my rooms. It's so weird. Um, but I want to be on the forefront of that because I can't thinking about a future family or kids and bringing them into this world and not being able to say to them, man, I tried to give it my all to make it the best, to set you up for success, to set my friends, family, in the sense of a healthy relationship with God, a healthy relationship with themselves, emotionally, mentally. Uh, I think that would be a very hard pill to swallow, to not be able to tell them like I tried, or I am trying, or I am making a difference, I am making a change. Uh, Kind of wrapping things up here. Clearly, I've been talking for too long here. I need to wrap it up because this is just an introductory episode. There very rarely will be episodes where it's me. Clearly, you can tell I'm out of answers, and so a big portion of this podcast will be bringing other people on, experts, friends, family, random people to be able to share their real stories as well as expert advice on how we can continue to create a healthier dating environment where we can get back to real meaningful connections and relationships with those around us. I think a big part of this too is to be able to create that community of support. And so if you're listening to this and you are struggling with, maybe this specific, if you're struggling in any way, but if you're struggling specifically with, the difficulties of dating, or someone that is, please have them reach out. Please, whether it's listening to an episode, whether it's reaching out to me or anything like that. Like I want to build a community of support because being single in the world, you don't really have that day-to-day support. You're, living on your own or living with roommates, and you're not that number one option for anybody on that list. And so trying to create a better, healthier environment where you can feel that you're a part of something bigger than yourself is very important to me. Um, One important thing that I want to make sure we cover, at least set as a backstop or a foundation to this entire conversation, is this experience of dating, this experience of, um, you know, failed expectations, sorrow, pain, whatever you want to call it, has brought me to the point where I 100% have to rely on that I trust in who Jesus Christ said he was. Because I mentioned earlier that nobody is coming to save you. And I mean that in the sense of, like, a friend or family member, whatever, like you got to take accountability on you. But we do have somebody who can do that for us, and that's Jesus Christ. This might not be an inherently gospel, you know, podcast every single episode, but there will be inherent gospel truths, and that's because if I believe that Jesus is who he says he was, and I believe and I trust that he was and is someone that can save us from death and sin, struggles, trials, challenges, um, then I want to tap into that grace as much as I can, and I believe that that comes in our actions. And so I hope that in this, podcast setting, that not only my example, but the um, conversations and principles are centered on those where we can be Christ-like towards each other, towards ourselves, towards those around us, that we're going to be able to tap into that power. Because to be honest, if he's not who he says he is, this becomes a very bleak and unfortunate situation. Just the I'm not even talking about dating, just the world in general. And this has brought me to the point where I have to fully rely on that faith and that belief and that testimony that he is who he says he is. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful he was willing to do that. And so my hope is that as I'm trying to follow through on the things that he's asking me to do, as I try and treat each other, as I try and treat our podcast guests, as we focus our principles and um, message on ones that I believe he's asking for, that he would like to be shared in the world, I think we're going to be able to make a lot bigger difference in ourselves and in the lives of those that we're interacting with, and ultimately the people that we're dating, the people that we're trying to form relationships with, whether that's with God, whether that's with um, our parents' family. That's one of the reasons I called this the relationship comeback. Because yes, it's going to be about dating, but it's about all aspects of relationships: relationships with God, relationships with Jesus, relationships with our friends, family members, siblings, and ultimately, romantic relationships. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be able to explore that, to be able to continue to hopefully help other people continue to get on that comeback, because it's not an easy thing when that faith is questioned. It's not an easy thing when relationships go astray, when things aren't working out. But I have faith and trust and knowledge that Jesus Christ really can help us in those situations. And so I want to create that as our backstop, as our foundation here, no matter how hard it's looking, no matter how bleak the situation might be. We have that backstop and that trust that he is who he says he is. And if that's true, he's overcome death and sin, and our suffering is not in vain. The difficult things we're going through are not in vain, that at some point it's going to be made right. And that's something that I'm grateful for. And I'm excited to be able to help us continue to explore how to find that and bring that power into our lives, because God knows we need it so bad in this world. I need it. Everybody needs it. And I'm grateful that we have the chance to continue to learn and explore and have an open and honest, you know, pursuit of that, a quest of how we can continue to bring back relationships in our lives in a healthy way, in a way that they can be maintained. And I'm grateful for anybody listening to be able to join me in that pursuit. I'm excited. Clearly a little bit nervous, a little bit emotional about this, but again, it's something that I know I need to do. It's something that uh, you know I'm proud to be able to be in a position in my life that I'm confident enough to do this. Uh, but more importantly, I hope that we can be able to help some other people feel heard, feel seen, feel important, and to hopefully provide them with some skills or tools or even just some healing to be able to continue to get through difficult challenges or trials specific to dating. That would be great, but if not, just in general, that we can get through this. And that's something that I'm very excited for. So we're up on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. So subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use. We'll be on all of those. We'll be posting clips or stories or polls or interactive things to be able to help kind of boost engagement here. So we're on all of those. But I'm excited to continue to have people on to learn from them And here's my catchphrase. So if this stinks, flame me in the comments. If it's fire, then let me know. But I think that purpose of this whole podcast is that I want to help all of us become the one so we can attract the one. So we'll see you guys on the next episode.